Hello everybody and welcome back to Dragon Age Veilguard, where friggin' that was so intense. The blight was actually really stressful. It was stressful hearing that in my head, like, again, not in like a bad way, but in like an intentionally designed way, right? Where it was just like, I was like, oh my god, this is a lot going on. So I was gonna read really quick the Codex entries we have gotten. The Arlathan Crater. Veiljumper report on the Arlathan Crater. Site of ancient temple dedicated to Elgar'nan. His symbols are everywhere. Interesting inscriptions have been sent for study. Strong, lingering magic that feels tightly controlled, like water behind a dam. Wards somewhere. Managed to climb one of the floating towers. Seems stable, might collapse if magic decays or wards are disrupted. Irwin reports feeling disturbed on drawing close to the lakeshore. Further observation needed. Balara's notes. Translated some inscriptions. Full translation is attached. Found reference to a thing called Elgar'nan's pride, resting in a place of honor. A weapon, a magical artifact. Temple with of value was by Tevinter ages ago. Elgar'nan's pride, whatever it is, probably long gone. Volunteering for next expedition, I want to poke at the wards and see the disturbing lake. Don't poke at the wards, that's so dumb. But interesting. I wonder if Elgar'nan warded something or if Solas warded something. In praise of Elgar'nan, from a wall inscription inside a ruined temple once dedicated to Elgar'nan, translated from ancient Elven by Valar. Only 27 out of 43? I am slacking. Offer yourself to Elgar'nan, first of the firstborn, exalted among the lords of Arlathan. Drunk on adulation, we pour out praises like wine to him who has dominion over all, and to whom all glory is owed, for he is the lord of the day and the night, who calls the moon and the sun to him like doves, who commands the wind and the tides, who quelled an unquiet earth, and raised it upon it a paradise. Yeah, note from Valar, Methylanaste. It's like like methyl help, or like methyl, oh my goodness, you know. He seriously thought all that about himself. Talk about creepy. I need a bath. Also, no, that is one of the stories that Elgar'nan has something to do with him, like his, Father Sky, Father Sky, Mother Earth. Or it was like Father Son, something like that. Father Son, and like Mother Earth. Like the Earth, like, or the sun, like scorched the Earth or something. And like Elgar'nan, like, what did he do? Like, he like subdued the sun because the sun burned the earth or something. But then the earth asked to have the sun back. Something like that. I'm butchering it, but like there's something there. Something happened. So like while he may not have created much, I think he was powerful, I think other people created it, but he like ruled over them and was just by dint of power alone, That's kind of what Solas is giving the impression, right? Ooh, that's so spooky. You know what? Actually, that unfortunately, Elgar'nan's design looks a little bit like the alien enemies in Mass Effect Andromeda. The elven gods in Tevinter, found on a fallen Venatori. Why should we feel shame for following an elven god? Yes, our old gods were elven, and I say to you, so what? We have always known the elves possessed magical aptitudes, surpassing even some of our Altus. Their deficiencies lie not in their natural ability, but in their failure to recognize it and bring it to its fullest potential. Sounds straight up like something written by H.P. Lovecraft. Think on it. After the loss of their leaders, the Elven Empire fell. All of their magic could not forestall their ruin, and the Tevinter took what was left and worked miracles. Now, upon his return, Elgar'nan seeks out the Venatori, not the Dalish or any other elves. Raw power is worthless if not used artfully. Our Lord Elgar'nan understands this, and he honors the Venatori by choosing us. Remember that. This is insulting, right? I should be insulted, Balara. You should be. No. No, that sounds straight up like H.P. Lovecraft, who was like really obsessed with like things, like stories of like voodoo and stuff that like strange tales that came from places that he was not familiar with, aka anything that wasn't northwestern U.S. Rich white colonial, that straight up like very specific. And in one of his stories, he actually writes, he's like, yeah, they had like a little bit of it, like the like the natives or the Africans. Like they had like bits and pieces of like the full cosmic horror thing, that whatever's that's going on in his story. He's like, but they could, due to natural deficiency, could never fully appreciate it like a white man could. And you're just like, straight up, dude. Like half the horror in Lovecraft is like just reading about how terribly racist and classist he was. He's also misogynist. And doesn't show up too much in his stories, I think, because he just doesn't write about women because he's scared of them. But yeah, he had like a successful businesswoman wife that he like never like touched or talked to. She didn't touch or talk to him, and they eventually got divorced. Like, he was so afraid of successful women. It was so tragically funny. But yeah, and he also like he hated like the Irish, you know, like you had to be you had to be descended from like England, maybe France, like, you know what I mean? Like, he was wild. Thought that like the like poor white people out in like the Appalachia were like cursed and like degenerating and like de-evolving, and it's like, what is wrong with you? Like, he was a crazy dude. Nev's case notes. Elgonan. What do we know? The Dalish tell the tale of how Elgonan overthrew the sun. Belarus says details differ depending on the clan. Told one way, Elgonan sought vengeance against the sun for burning the earth. This is the one I was trying to tell you. In Bel's clan, Elgonan struck down the sun to bring the first night. Either way, defeating the sun gave him control over day and night. There's always a little truth buried behind the legends, but never enough. The real story, or what we've put together, Elgonan was the greatest elven general. He led them to victory in their wars and declared himself god and king. That's the control angle, but it wasn't enough. So he bound a dragon to himself and used the blight to take even more power. He was a tyrant who subjugated his followers mind and body, demanding love and perfect obedience. Yeah, he wants to be loved, but like loved in like an adulation kind of way, you know, in a strict obedience kind of way. And now he's back. Great. Listen, I'm not saying Solas' plan was good, but at this point, like, Solas' plan is way better than this. Oh my goodness. Boop, boop, boop. The only one I'm close to is the Antivan Crows and dwarves, but we haven't... Look at this, the dwarves are getting, like, utterly shafted, honestly. As always. Straight up. Oh, wow. I'm not doing too bad on the mementos. The dwarves got shafted in Inquisition, too. They had a whole DLC to themselves, to be fair, but so did the elves, kind of. Well, that was the Inquisition. With Joseph Khan. But, oh, this whole portrait of Harding is so beautiful. This one, I've seen it, but I think I usually see her the close-up, but I hadn't seen it with the arrows like that. That's really beautiful. Oh, she's moved up to Elven Historian. Okay. Demon of Varantim. Ravani and Proud. Okay. We're moving. People are moving. People are shaking. Alright, now I'm going to go poke everybody. And I will poke Varric also. And then we'll talk to Solas.
Alright, say we take down Elgonan's archdemon.
Hold on. You're talking about winning? Aren't you glass half empty?
It's hypothetical. But say we win. Last archdemon, isn't it? And a monster that big. Where'd he go after that?
Wherever Hassan takes us. Let him lead for a while.
Oh my gosh, he's thought about it, honestly. Or maybe that was just like a flippant answer, but it's kind of those ones that like you say flippantly and then you're like, no, actually, I think that's right, you know? That's really great that he's not like... none of this is like a soul-destroying vengeance quest that he's on, right? He was here to, like, live and, like, gain his own, like, be written in the history books, right? And he's doing that. And once he's done that, like, it's not the end of everything, right? And, like, you've hunted the biggest monster and you've slayed the last archdemon. Like, that's crazy. He'd be really wrapped up and invested in this, but it wouldn't be the end of the world, you know? But yeah, wow, I mean, if that's the case, then, I still haven't gotten to the ending, obviously, but, like, we wouldn't need the Wardens anymore. Like, I thought about it briefly, but, like, now I'm really contemplating it, like, because I thought for a bit there that maybe the other gods were, still alive. But yeah, well, we no longer need the Wardens. That's kind of making me, like, tear up, like, I don't know, like, feel like I'm gonna tear up, like, behind my eyes, you know? Like, I know they've done some terrible things, but, like, you guys know, I've said it a gazillion times. I have them so high up on a pedestal, it's, like, actually unreal. Like, I'll still criticize them, but, like, I admire the Grey Wardens so much. And to, like, have them, like, fade into the history books feels, like, really sad. Like, it's for the better, right? Because the Wardens always wanted to be forgotten, you know, after a blight. because they weren't needed anymore, you know, and they would only show up in the darkest of times. But like, I mean, I guess you could still be the Grey Wardens, but you wouldn't be blighted. Maybe you could still kind of keep the organization, but they wouldn't have the same powers anymore, because in the Blight they had the contracts to like they could conscript whoever they wanted, and like take whatever they wanted, or not necessarily take, but like they had to be given all the resources they needed at any point in time, and you couldn't say no to a warden. Which sounds bad, but you know, they just needed like the people, and they needed like the resources to be able to fight, so that they were not controlled by any government or organization, and no one, like a government, couldn't say no because they're being petty or because they didn't want to get involved. You know, it's like, no, this threatens all of us, and so we supersede now you guys for the duration of the Blight, and we will take what we need. You will give us what we need, and then when it's done, we will go. You know, so yeah. Well, now it's like making me feel tragic about making a Grey Warden. Like, we'll see how things go, but maybe something from across the sea will be blighted in some way. I don't know, you know, or we can modify the Grey Wardens. The Inquisition of old was modified into the Seekers and the Templars, so it was a similar organization, but like they got split down into their composite parts, and so changed, you know, modified for like the times thereafter that were different than when the Inquisition was first, like the first Inquisition was first instigated, right? So you need to have flexible, you know, organizations that go with the times, otherwise you're gonna fade away into the history books, you know. I need a hug from Asan. That was a rough one, but he had two gods arguing in my head.
Do you ever wake up angry at someone for something they did?
Not personally, but Viago still stares daggers at me for throwing his pet snake out a window in a dream.
How could dream you do such a thing to an innocent snake?
That snake.
If I ever meet him, I'll be sure to ask what he was thinking.
Yeah. It's so funny that she's asking everybody about their dream stuff, which would make sense. Like, it totally makes sense. Trying to figure out what's normal and what isn't, you know? Oh, they're in here.
So, how does it work? Being half undead, I mean. Which half of Hezenkos is undead? That feels important.
I wasn't being quite so literal.
Yeah.
The line between life and undeath can be porous.
Oh, okay. That makes more sense.
What were you imagining?
Well, one leg's alive, the other is undead, so you kind of just go in circles.
Listen, I get it. But also, that was one of the dumbest things I've ever heard in my life. I get it, it's like, oh yeah, she's like, I think some people, I don't know, but I think maybe people are saying she's like sort of like represents like autism, autistic people, ADHD, you know, all that combined together. And like, I get it where you can like your brain can latch onto something and you're like, oh yeah, this makes sense. And then like someone's like, no, it's actually this, and you're like, oh, and like your brain has to like rewire itself for a second. I get it, but that was like, really, I'm upset with that one. I'm not gonna lie. I need to go to when I go to my chambers, I need to change, I need to change, what's his name, Lucanus, and is it just Lucanus that needs to be changed? Maybe something else.
You've got allies from Rivain to Navarra now. If the enemy makes a move, they'll see it.
I am from Navarra, yay! Yes, I see you. Apparently now you can't access my head. I know he gave a reason for it, but I'm still like... Lucanus's gall? Like the gall of Lucanus. It's this one. It's this one. Yes, he looks so cool. Because I don't necessarily like the bonuses on that one. Did I want to change? I did get something, I think. I got like a new recruit. I got an explorer's suit. No, no, no. No. We've had these. Oh, I wanted to change my shield. Paid a lot of money for that. I can't believe how many I have yet to unlock, apparently. Where do you even find these? Like, I know some of them I haven't bought. Like, I've seen them, and I'm less interested in the helms. So I don't buy them. But a part of me is like, well, I'll be danged, you know? Oh, Path of the Ancestors. Okay, so you can get different... Wait. Yeah, the Path of Kinship. Okay. My sister was saying something about, like, depending on which path you choose, you get, like, different armors. Maybe they're kind of similar, but, like, different colored or something. I don't know. But this one's so fun. I love it so much. Path of Kinship makes sense to have all the friends from Inquisition on there. Okay. Let me just save really quick. You'd be surprised how many save files I have named Solas, please.
The Dalish prisoners escaped safely?
We got them away free and clear.
All of them.
Good.
I do not know how you have found your dealings with the Dalish.
Whatever my frustrations with them, it was a privilege to be able to help our people again. Thank you for allowing me to help. Chance to infuriate Elganon was a reminder of simpler times.
So he had a good time with it, I guess. Kind of. But also it seemed like he really did, like, at one point, like, it really seemed like he was like, Elganon, please, like, listen to me, which I'm sure is, like, habit at this point, but it's like, you could do so much good. But he has to know that it's a losing battle, but I think it speaks well to him that he's, you know, he at least feels like he has to try, you know, ostensibly. Maybe it's just him going through the motions, saying things he knows Elganon won't listen to, but yeah, I was curious because he was so concerned about the Dalish, right? And I did have that brief thought where, like, he was pretty frustrated with them in Inquisition. Like, anytime you said our people, if you went out, he was like, our people. He's like, I'm not one of you, you know? And you're like, we're all elves, buddy, you know? But he's like, I'm different. And you're like, in post after you've played and everything, you're like, you know? But, yeah, and there's one of the things at the very beginning of the game when you acquire him and Cassandra and Varric. Man, I feel like I want to play Inquisition at some point again. I know my friend Roma and I were talking about how once we're done playing like all our playthroughs of Veilguard, we kind of want to go back and play from beginning all the way through, which would take me years, honestly, like the way I play. It took me years to finish the Mass Effect playthrough, the Legendary playthrough. It took me like 2 years or something, or more, 2 or 3. But, anyway, yeah, one of the first things you can have, where there's like a conversation that happens at you while you're running around in the field, and you can click a button to like interact with it, and it's like, but it's Solas being like, you know, oh yeah, he's like, something about how like anytime he goes to try to talk to the Dalish, he always like gets either run off or shunned or something, and he says at some point, like when you can ask him, I think at the very end or something in Trespasser, there's something where it's like, why didn't you try to teach the Dalish? And he's like, I did, and they didn't want to believe me. And so this whole time, all he's seeing when he looks at the Dalish is not necessarily the elven people. He's seeing half, like, soulless, like, you know, like a soulless entities, with the slave marks on their faces. And he felt like everything he had done prior to the veil going up was just for nothing. Like, they were enslaved once again. and to their own selves, and also like in many ways to like to venture into like the societies that spurned them. You know, like you felt like everything that I could not imagine sacrificing everything you had sacrificed, and then like all for the hope that it would be better for your people, and then to come back and basically find them in the same position, you know, and not knowing anything that you knew, you know, that you like what you had fought for. They were like eating the lies that you had fought against. Like that's all they believed about themselves. You know what I mean? Like it's just people get mad at him, and rightfully so. But I think that has to be an incredibly difficult situation to be in. Take my cup, by the way. It's pictures of me and my sister. But from our adventures in 2022. Mostly my adventures, but I did go visit her in Hawaii for her 30th birthday, so. She watches these sometimes. I don't know if you'll see it, but here you go. I'll maybe blur your face out so that your face isn't all over the internet. But, God, just the way he's standing. Like a general in his own right? I think they did a good job at differentiating his posture in this game from the last game. He always was a tall, proud, like you see in the Inquisition, he always stands and like he had like a bubble butt. It's kind of funny. Like his shirt would like accentuate. It was like you couldn't help but notice. Or like he's standing like ramrod straight and like his butt just like, and because of the way the clothes worked in Inquisition, they're not as good in this game as they are in this game. It like bowed out funny and like left like a space, you know, like it was like a slit shirt kind of like on the hip. And it kind of bowed out and like left like an inch of space where it was just like hovering, and they would like curve down his butt. So like, I think in this game they've done just better with postures and like modeling in general, you know. But like, so that's probably it. But like, I think he stood like a aloof, you know, hermit type in Inquisition, and in this game he stands like a general, like a man used to commanding people, you know. Anyway, I love him so much. Oh yeah, let's bring this up.
You said you found the Dalish frustrating. Why is that?
It is unfair to them. I lived for thousands of years, and after I imprisoned the Evanuris, I slept for thousands more. I awoke in a world that had forgotten the ancient times almost entirely. And those who tried to remember Elven history, like the Dalish, had gotten so much wrong.
Let me guess. You tried to tell them what they were getting wrong, and they didn't believe you?
There are few things that frustrate me as much as ignorance.
Yeah.
I tried to explain the truth to one clan. When I convinced them that I was truly Fen'Harel, they attacked me. After that, I hid my explanations behind the facade of having witnessed events in the Fade.
He did! All the time!
One of the first lessons in the Moonwatch is that the Fade is reality as seen through a smoky mirror.
Oh my gosh, yes!
Yes. The Dalish had no reason to believe me. I could only watch as they continued to worship Elganon, though we may have seen the last of that tradition. At least.
He's like, if nothing else comes from this, there's that, you know? But, yeah, and like I just say, I keep saying things and then the game says them, so I should maybe just shut up, but it's a little too late for that now. But, if you romance him in Inquisition with a Dalish elf, he offers at one point to remove, he tells you the truth. Well, he tells you some of the truth. The most truth you get out of him in that game. And it is that those markings, like what he's learned in the Fade, is that those markings are slave markings. And that things were not always as they appeared, essentially, and he offers to remove it from you. And a lot of the imagery of Solas, the tapestries hanging up over there, that one was hanging behind me for a lot of the videos before, a lot of imagery of the Dreadwolf of Solas in the carvings during the time of Arlathan. Are of him removing the Valisleen, right? So to see those on people's faces, again, as a mark of pride, is would have been horrific. I actually did have him remove my Valisleen, because you know, it's a weird thing to think you have slave markings on your face, but I ended up reloading and getting them back on because I basically crafted my Inquisitor's face around the Vallaslane. And when they were off, to me, her face looked, and maybe it's just partly because like, you're used to seeing something on somebody, and then it's gone, and you're like, what is that? You look weird, you know? But her face did not look very good in my mind without the Vallaslane. And so I reloaded and went back. Because he breaks up with you. Spoilers for a 10-year-old game. He breaks up with you, sort of. He says, we can't be together. He's like, I shouldn't have done this. Like, he's like confessing love to you, and then he's like, I can't do this. Like, I'm so sorry. And you're like, no. You know, and I actually reloaded, and I went through all 6 options to see if there was one that would let him stay with me, you know? Because I was like, did I choose wrong? You know, like what happened here? You know, and I can't remember what I ended up going with because I figured out, you know, you go through all of them. He still breaks up with you regardless. And I can't remember. I might have chosen the tearful option, but she might have been angry at him. I don't know. But I was one of those people that I didn't know the internet was doing this until later. But people, when they were mad at Solas for that, they put him in plaid weave, and I did that also, not knowing that other people did that. Oh, so I put him in some plaid weave armor and it made him look so dumb. Okay, anyway. Chatter.
You and Elganon were really tearing into one another back there.
I needed to goad him to anger in order to distract him. But yes, while all of the Evanuris were monsters in their own ways, Elganon was the worst. Or perhaps it is more honest to say that his were the faults I found most objectionable.
Okay.
You have met him now. Heard his voice hammering at the doors of your mind. And you have met me. Can you see how he and I might frustrate one another?
I was straight up gonna say you're angry brothers, but I might not say that because I think that would be really not. Just gonna say it. It's like, but what I was gonna say is they're not necessarily like angry brothers, but their dynamic is one of like we were saying before, where like family, like Tosh was saying it, right? Like nobody can get at you, nobody can twist you up like family can, right? We're like my sister and I are best buds, right? She's like a year and a half younger than me. If you're watching this, we've talked about this before, where it's like, you know, we're home for Christmas or whatever. We're like hanging out at some point, you know, whenever we're together because we live pretty far apart now. But it's like we will like 2 peas in a pod, right? Having a great time. All it takes is one like word, one sentence, one slight tone shift difference, and we can be at each other's throats in seconds. Like all it takes, because you're siblings, and like you just know, all you have to do is just like a little tiny twist of the tack, like you know exactly where to push to like get a reaction, and not even consciously necessarily, it's subconscious almost. Like you've grown up together, like you know exactly what will like twist up your sibling, but you also know. Maybe it's a little harder, but like you kind of know, like you have an idea, even again if it's subconscious, what would make them the happiest. You know what I mean? So it's like 2 sides of the same coin, right? And I essentially the Evanuris were essentially siblings, but yeah, Elgarnan's much more like, you know, bombastic and like bleh, and like, you know. And Solas is much quieter about things at the basic level. That's kind of the differences, right? Is that I think Solas would have been prone to laughter and stuff, but like it would have been like kinder, softer, you know, at least way back. And Elgarnan was like always cruel, I think, and Solas was always, it seemed like anyway, Solas was kind of like shy, like reclusive, like, you know, did not seek the limelight, you know, whereas Elgarnan very much wanted the limelight, wanted everybody's love, you know. I'm sorry, I don't know. You're both prideful. That is quite apropos considering his name, right? But you are both very proud, but in very different ways. I kind of want... I'm going to see what this one does.
The way the 2 of you argued, they didn't feel like enemies. They felt like family.
How so?
Family knows you better than anyone. And that can be good or bad.
I had not thought of it that way.
Oh.
But yes, we had centuries to stoke the fires of our hatred. I saw his rise to tyranny coming, and could not stop it. And he saw me disrupt his plans for dominion time and time again.
The little brother.
Alright. I can see how you and Elganon would hate each other.
He has always been what I most feared becoming. Callous and uncaring.
Oh.
His arrogance unchecked.
Okay.
To have that much power and no one to remind him that he could be wrong.
I see.
He had you.
And I suppose I had you.
Jeez. The Inquisitor in me is having a hard time right now. Oh my goodness. He also had Mythal. Elgarnon did. As somebody to try to keep him in check. But I can see it. Solas, one of the things. Well, he didn't want to become mortal, right? He didn't want to have a mortal form. And I think one of those was like he didn't want to change, and he didn't want to become. I think maybe he was worried that all of the Avenir's would become like Elgarnon, right? Like maybe he saw it as like an inevitable outcome of a corporeal form, of change, of mutability, you know, and didn't want that for himself, and so actively fought against that in Elgarnon so that he himself would not become that, right? It's interesting. Oh, and I mean, honestly, I feel bad. I feel like I shouldn't have, like, at this point, I'm like, I should not have interrupted the ritual. Like, we should have, like, tried to mitigate it as best we could, not interrupt it at this point, is what I feel like, with everything we're dealing with. But, we'll tease.
Last time I got his attention, he got angry enough to come after us with the blighted dragons. Hopefully, this baits him into a mistake we can use against him.
Every act of resistance is a thorn in his side. He will break soon. When we first met, I saw you only as a foolishly confident child who disrupted my plans. You were an irritant.
Just like you to him!
I gave you information to oppose Elganon out of necessity, but I expected you to be nothing more than a tool. Seeing you with your team, I was wrong.
Does it I earlier expected it very whoa. Does it remind you of the Inquisition? It probably does. Yep. Ooh, I don't know if we should be jokery or like, thanks, you know. That had to be hard to say. Doesn't feel like the vibe I want to go for. Like, oh.
I'm impressed you got that out without choking.
If I could not admit when I was wrong, I would be no better than Elganon.
Your team trusts you, and you listen to them. It is impressive and enviable. It took me centuries to build such a bond during my rebellion, and when I served the Inquisition, I tried to avoid entanglements.
I knew it. I was like, I saw that line of his pop up, and I was like, if they don't give me something, I'm gonna cry. Oh my gosh. Oh, okay, hang on. Oh my gosh, I have to make sure I can see myself so I'm not like doing anything too excessively stupid. Oh my gosh. His stomach hurts. What about the Inquisitor?
Except for Inquisitor Llewellyn.
I said that I resolved to do so. Not that I succeeded.
Yep.
She is a good woman. Growing close to her was selfish of me.
Do you regret it?
I live with countless regrets. Some of them I have grown to cherish more than my victories.
Thank you for sharing that. So, what comes next? What are the gods going to do?
Elganon and Gillenane are preparing the dagger they will use for their ritual to pierce the veil. Elganon's power is tied to light and darkness. He will need to perform a ritual during the next eclipse.
Oh.
That gives us some time to prepare.
Okay.
It is likely to be your last chance to do so.
Classic, too, you know?
You must be ready for whatever comes. For this world and for the team that trusts you. I know that you will do everything in your power not to fail them.
This was really tender and nice, but also when are you going to stab me in the back, potentially? Not in a bad way. If there is a not bad way to be stabbed in the back.
So now Elganon's recovered his own archdemon. And the gods only need an eclipse to complete their dagger.
We saved the Dalish, though. That's important.
But now Elgernon's immortal, so long as his archdemon lives.
And we all know how hard those things are to kill.
We killed Razikale, didn't we?
After losing hundreds of Wardens.
Yeah.
And it took a centuries-old trap to do it. We don't have either of those. Not anymore.
For the bigger one, too.
Just when you think the tide's in your favor, it turns right back.
A son! Anyway, I'm gonna just... Okay, I can put this back now, but she's a good woman. It was selfish of me to grow closer to her, and he regrets it, but, like, it's one of those things where, like, it's a bittersweet thing, right? And also, because I was going to say, he became, at least in my game, he became good friends with, like, for one thing, Varric. He was pretty good friends with Varric. And Blackwall. Him and Blackwall were really close friends. And I don't know if he didn't get along with Sarah. Cassandra was alright. Yeah, he kind of avoided entanglements, but he did still come to hang out. I'm pretty sure he came to the card game. Maybe he didn't. But... he didn't really interact with Cullen, Liliana, Cassandra a little bit. Did not get along with Vivian. Did not get along with Dorian. Yeah. Really, the only friends he had were me, Blackwall, and Varric. So he tried to avoid entanglements, but didn't quite do it.
We've done some great work underwater. You know why no one else can save the world except us? Why the Inquisitor told me it had to be
Inquisitor?
us. Because we don't give up. Knock us down and we come back swinging.
Nice speech, Rook. But it's hard to complete a contract if you don't know where the target is.
We found the gods before.
Not without help, we didn't.
So we get help again. We've got allies everywhere now.
It's true. Also, I was like, why did Lucanus approve? But it's like, we've done some great, because she's like, we're gonna be drowning or whatever, like Nev said. And it's like, we've done some great work underwater. I was like, it took me a second. And then I was like, oh, was that rescuing Lucanus? Is that why you approved? Oh my goodness. Like, you know, it took me a second, but it was a good one. I'm not talking to the Veil Jumpers. We've got allies everywhere now. What about the Venator? What about the Venatori?
I can think of a few options, but I'm open to suggestions.
Wardens have run dry. Nothing new is moving in the deep roads.
And the Veil Jumpers couldn't find any trace of Elgrenon or his archdemon.
The crows may have something. The Antam are moving large quantities of supplies out of the city. Weapons, armor, gatlock. And food. About half are remaining provisions. Enough to feed the Antam navy.
Given the timing, it seems unlikely to be a coincidence.
The Antam are what's left.
Wherever those supplies are headed, that's likely where we'll find the gods. Any more details from the crows, Lucanus?
They said the Antam have long work ahead. We have time. Also, Biago would like a meeting.
I would love that.
At your earliest convenience. From him, that means important, but not yet urgent.
Okay.
We've got options for what we do next. Figuring out where the Antam are taking those supplies should put us on the gods' trail.
Not to complicate things, but the Inquisitor also wants to meet Rook.
Right. With everything she's been doing in the south, we owe her an update.
Yes.
I'll let her know.
My gosh, we survived.
Despite the odds, we've survived. We've made a habit of it. Take some time. Rest. Be ready to go. Next time the gods appear, let's make sure it's the last.
I would think Emmrich would know when the next eclipse is, or he would at least be able to look it up. But I think we're keeping the dates fast and loose, you know? Oh yeah, the book club that I don't get to be in. That's for a second. Book club meeting. Balara, Nev, Harding, Emmrich, Lucanus, Mistress of the Scarlet Moon by Irin Sis, Chosen by Harding, thus taken by Valar. Notes, Harding felt the archery scenes were very unrealistic. Spent 7 minutes demonstrating that the shots described were completely impossible. Broke 3 lamps. Emmrich thought protagonists made very realistic decisions, but that the number of songs in the book was excessive. Valar, me, lost copy of the book halfway through reading it. Was still able to guess the plot twist correctly. Nice. Nev commented that the book made her hungry, elaborated that it was not the blood. That's good. O'Connor felt the book accurately conveyed the boring parts of being an assassin. Did not enjoy book. Dice rolled and O'Connor picks the next book. Well, I want to see more. We get Solas notes. Freed from the Eviners. Today, in coordinated strikes along the eastern coast, agents of Fenrir liberated slaves bound to Androl. That's right, that was the other big thing. I knew there was a big thing that got dropped. But that Androl destroyed the world on Elgornan's orders. So maybe he blighted her first? But no... Gillinan would have blighted her. I don't think Gillinan would have blighted her. I think she loved her. Today, in coordinated strikes along the eastern coast, agents of Fenrir liberated slaves bound to Androl. The slaves had their life forces cruelly bound to magical wards that were supposedly set to defend Arlathan against enemies from across the sea. We're getting more and more of that. And I think in that moment when we were at the tree and we were hearing the whispers and Gillinan was asking Elgornan about his dreams, I think they must have had... They're like worried about other enemies, right? That's not Solas. They're fighting a war on 2 fronts. They're fighting kind of us, but we're kind of more nuisances than anything else. But they're really worried about something else, and potentially dreams were a way for them to sort of see more of that. It seemed like maybe even in their prison they were seeing more of the world when they were dreaming. But yeah. Oh my gosh, yeah, he had... So again, we're hearing a little bit more of what seems like the truth, or at least closer to the source of Andrel's story of her becoming corrupted. And then Mythal going in and fighting her, and then turning into a dragon, or what, that she died, is what happened. Maybe Andrel was like the first goddess like who was fully... fell to the blight. Or they were trying something out on like her, the warrior, you know, and not Elgornan because he's a coward. And then he had her go like fight, and she was just overall just way too destructive. And then they had to Mythal tried to stop her. Those items across the sea, but which were in fact being siphoned for Andrel's personal empowerment. These slaves are now free, recovering their strength and safety. People of Arlathan, the Eviners, would have you believe that such suffering is necessary, that your only worth is in service, that they must bind you to protect you from outside aggression. They are lying. You are the strength of Arlathan, not them. When you see the truth and are ready, call to Fenrir, and he will break your shackles. A good call to arms. About the freed slaves. We got word... I keep getting notes from Palace. We got word from the warding sites. Mighty dead, and far more than the casualties we inflicted. The story being spread is that we killed everyone. Andrel's servants made examples of a few and claimed that Red Wolf is trying to weaken Arlathan by attacking servants and destroying the wards. It's hard to tell what people really believe now. I know you're likely berating yourself reading this. Just remember the faces of people we saved. We can't control what the Eviners do. And yes, we have to keep playing up the Dread Wolf. The people need someone to believe... Someone they believe is strong enough to protect them, or they'll never join us. Don't worry. I promise to mock you viciously if you ever start believing those stories yourself. Oh... Solaaaas is the one who helped make the Dread Wolf who he is, at least in the propaganda. And again, I'm sure Solas would hate that in a lot of ways because it's kind of what Elgornan and all of them were doing, right? Where they were like puffing themselves up with these propaganda stories, you know? And it's like, oh, but you're doing it for good, but where does that line stop, you know? And when do you start becoming... And Felasan was the one, right, that was like, I will make sure you do not become Elgornan in this. Friggin', what about Felasan and Solas? Forget Mythal and Solas. What about Felasan and Solas? What's their story? In the room? Question, like, wait, okay, hang on. Meet with the crows or meet with the Inquisitor? Well, we're meeting with the Inquisitor, obviously. But, hang on. Let's look at... For the love of Treviso. I'm not gonna read it, because I don't want to know. I don't want to be spoiled. We have to meet with the Inquisitor. I'm not gonna read it, because I don't want to be spoiled. But yes, everybody is like, hey girl, hey. And I'm like, hey, I see you. Alright, let's see what the Lighthouse has for us. Oh, dang it, I was hoping it was the room. A letter from the Hosberg wetlands. Rook, we continue to study the changes in the blight. Our latest findings are very interesting and disturbing. We can't let the spread continue. We'll catch you up the next time you're in the wetlands, Antoine. Why is that here? And not like in a missive that was sent straight to me? You know? Maybe the missives don't give you quests, I don't know. The Wardens ever run dry. Well, apparently not. They kind of have on the gods anyway. But they should be able to track the archdemon, though. Mom! Hi.
Myrna. Hello. I assume Vorgoth's not far behind.
We have her, Rook. We have her. We know exactly what she's planning.
The professor asked us to research the artifact that came into the possession of Johanna Hezenkos.
She carries a gloaming lantern.
Hi, Dad.
There you are.
They were fashioned in ages past by unscrupulous necromancers. The lanterns steal and concentrate life.
Right.
Johanna could use it to leech life from hundreds at a time. An endless source of power.
That's dangerous and dumb. Yeah, I'm gonna go with that.
That's exactly the kind of reckless necromancy that gives the rest of us a bad name.
Just so. But we found where Johanna will be.
She has returned to Blackthorn Manor.
Hezenkos intends to hold a soiree.
What?
That can't be her whole plan.
No, but I propose a small group infiltrate Johanna's lair while she's distracted and destroy her lantern.
She would expect that.
Let's do it.
Vorgoth and I must return to the necropolis.
Hunt well.
If only we could make Johanna see reason.
You tried before. She seems stubborn.
Perhaps that's why she attained immortality, while I quake on the threshold. If I make my own bid for lichdom. Oh, it's no use pretending this hasn't stirred up that old dread of my own mortality.
I can see that now, where he starts to question, like, I mean, Hezenkos is kind of him. Well, I hope that wasn't too loud. Hezenkos is kind of him if he went bad, you know, somebody with an insatiable curiosity, but kind of like Elgoran and Solas. It's like two very different journeys, you know, two very different ends, essentially. Well, not very different ends. Kind of. Solas and Elgoran are kind of like that, but like, I don't know. She's the flip side of the coin to him. Like the spirits he said, you know, curiosity is benign and like cute and kind and whatever. It's a good spirit, but it can be twisted to like you know, like the example he uses, like curious to see how arson would work or whatever, you know. Without a sense of morality, curiosity can be very dangerous, you know. So yeah, they're essentially that. Curiosity for ill and curiosity for good, you know? But the line is not like, you know, it's so gray. Morality, right? Like, big gray area, you know, essentially. So I could see that he'd be worried that he would have been tempted in the past, or is now, maybe. He's like, you know. But yeah. And he's not just like, yeah, the normal, like, I'm afraid of dying. His is like panic attack inducing, is what he said. I think I'm gonna be like, maybe that's healthy, because I do think it's to offer another opinion, you know, where it's like, yeah, maybe lichdom would be nice, but also like, maybe that's what makes life good, is that, you know, there's more spice to it when it's a shorter life, in a way. I don't know, I'm not saying it very well.
You could also be having a normal reaction to facing danger every other day.
No, it shouldn't be this crushing, this prevalent. No. Johanna was never beset by these sort of fears.
And now she's evil.
Well, a little fear's healthy.
Yeah.
You'll feel better once we crash her lair and destroy that lantern. Promise.
Interesting. I can see now where he's like, oh, envious of her almost, right? If curiosity gets twisted by envy, ooh, that could be where we're going to break the lantern and he's potentially going to be able to attain lichdom through the broken lantern is probably what's going to happen. like he can like take those souls and like skip the lichdom process that he's afraid of, or go through with the actual process of lichdom later, like the ritualized one. Anyway, I won't let him use unwilling souls to do the evil necromancy stuff that we just both agreed was evil in the earlier part of the conversation. Hi, Manfred. Yes, I see you. Out of everyone, Emmrich's room sounds the most beautiful. Those chimes, the bells are really beautiful. Did I mention way back when we were doing the bells thing in the necropolis that I think it's really appropriate because of the Edgar Allan Poe poem? I think I did. Anyway, I still think it's very appropriate because of the Edgar Allan Poe poem. Usually, whatever cutscene's gonna happen triggers when I open the door. But now they're all like, come in! I'm like, okay.
Hey, I got word from my mother. She wants to talk.
She's kidnapped.
Have you talked with her since?
Nope. Not since I told her I was non-binary. But her note said she wanted to talk about that tablet we found, the old Kunari one.
She was holding it earlier.
Of course that's what she wants to talk about. We can go whenever you're good.
I'll let you know.
Or they were holding it earlier when they were talking with, like, Davern or something that was in here? No, it was Emmrich. Yeah, Lair of the Dragon King, thanks. Yeah, I'm well aware that we're not going to be going to talk to Shallan. We're going to see the Dragon Man. Let's see, I talked so much. I need to talk to these people too. Harding's is probably the prettiest, just in general, on the outside and the inside. Look at this place. What I wouldn't give. Emmrich's room, this room, and Davern's room. My favorites.
Hey, what's shaping?
No.
No one says, what's shaping anymore?
Was that a thing?
I thought it was a dwarf thing.
Yeah, if you lived in Orzammar 20 years ago.
Oh, that's so funny, actually.
Wow, just trying to be nice, and what do I get? Sass.
That's actually so funny.
Aw, well, I appreciate it.
What's shaped?
And I'm doing okay.
I hate it, honestly.
I think I just need some time to think and sort things out.
It'd be kind of surprising if you didn't.
I still remember every moment of it. Suffocating under the weight of the Titan's pain. I couldn't see a way past it. And all I wanted was for the rest of the world to suffer too. And then everyone was there. And that's when I knew we'd be okay. That I'd be okay.
When we went up and did a group hug and said friendship is magic.
I know you would have done the same for me.
You helped me remember who I was. Not some titan, but just Lace Harding. And yes, if you ever need me like I needed you, I will be there. That is my promise to you.
Very formal.
You know, I think about Solas sometimes. He's been trapped by his mistakes for eons. When you're blinded by sorrow and pain, you need someone to help you past it.
But he's too proud for that. He believes he's alone, even when he doesn't have to be.
He's envious, though. The fact that he said that, too, in the conversation, that he was envious, that it was enviable. Our squad dynamic, you know? And, like, he got, like, a taste of it in the Inquisition, but, like, he misses the rapport that he had with his people back in the day. But even then, like, it wasn't quite the same, right? And so, again, that's just another, to me, that is proof that he really doesn't want to do what he's doing. Like, he has convinced himself he needs to do this, but, like, he just needs someone else to convince him. Also, I remember at the end of Trespasser, when you romance him, I don't know if you can do this, I think you can do it if you don't romance him. But no, I think only if you romance him, there's something where it's like, you're like, I'm not going to let you do this or something. I'm going to find another way. And he's like, I truly hope you do. Or something like that. Or like, he like obviously does not want to do what he's doing. He just thinks it's the only way forward. And that he basically is saying, like, if the Inquisitor found another way, no one would be happier than him. You know what I mean? But since he feels like he can't see it with all his wisdom and like life experience, like how is anybody else going to? You know? So again, proud. But yeah, it's again just these little things adding up that tell you that he does not want to do that. At least this iteration of Solas doesn't want to do it. Potentially, if you hardened him in Inquisition, he wouldn't care. You know? So that'd be interesting maybe to play someday. A hardened Solas. I'm like, I won't like it. And he did say in the conversation just now, he's like, and I, Algernon had me to like remind him that he's not infallible. He's like, and I have you. And I'm like, okay.
He'll never ask for help, but that doesn't mean we can't offer it anyway. But do you think he can be helped?
Solas took this path because he thinks he has no choice. But the Inquisitor believes there is another way for him. For them.
For both of them?
She could save him if he would just let her. No one's beyond help, Rook. No one. I have to believe it. Or none of this matters.
I like that. Also, yeah, it's like we don't necessarily have to be the ones to help him. The Inquisitor could potentially be the one. She tried at the end of Trespasser. But it was not the time yet. I think now, after these experiences further on, he's more and more inclined to maybe be turned from the path he's on. I don't know, though, if a happy ending's in the card for them, though. Returning to the stone, Harding's thoughts scribbled in the margins of her journal. They say we return to the stone after death. In Orzammar, only those laid to rest with the proper rites get to return to the stone, and the privilege of a good burial is reserved for the upper caste. No luck for the casteless or surfacers, rejected by the stone, they say. But I'm a surfacer. The stone, whatever it is, hasn't rejected me. But if we do return to the stone, every single one of us, why can't I sense the others that have passed? Questions about the afterlife. It would be interesting in the Morn Watch. I wonder if they'd have like a whole subset of people dedicated to figuring out what happens to dwarves after they die, because you can't. There's no spirits of the dwarves in the Fade. You know what I mean? Like, they don't dream. They're not in the Fade. They don't do magic. You know. So I wonder if there's some sort of phenomenon of like the whispers in the rock or something. You know what I mean? Well, that would be such an interesting thing to study. A Warden future. There's never been a lot of writing about what happens after the last Archdemon's fall. It was lifetimes away for the Wardens before us, and our lives are shorter than most. I didn't think about it either. It's sad in a way. People can't imagine a day it would end, or that things would have a chance to get better. Not as a break between the last bad thing and the next. A chance for Thetis to recover for longer this time. Given all we've seen, maybe it needs that more than we know. The Blight's changed, so stopping Archdemons won't end our work. Maybe that should still feel sad, but it doesn't. There's a world here to fight for, and we can win. Okay, from Edka's journal, a small blue flower is pressed alongside it. Dang, I guess that's true. The Blight will still be around. The Blight is not tied to the Archdemons themselves. It's just that the Wardens were the only ones who could kill an Archdemon. They truly were the only ones who could kill an Archdemon. Anybody else, it wouldn't work. But Wardens are also immune to the Blight, so they could still be used to fight the Blight. I guess there's that. It's maybe not as like riding into the sunset, And also, we just brought the Griffins back, and it's like there's gonna be no Archdemons for them to fight, so there is actually a chance for a life outside of being, warrior predator types with the Wardens. Like they could choose to just be shepherds, do whatever they want, potentially. Interesting. I think I'll have to go ahead and call this one here, though. Oh my gosh, I still haven't. I need to talk to 3 more people. Yes. O'Connor's, I think, didn't have anything to say. He's like, I've said my piece. But yeah, anyway. Thank you all for joining me. I appreciate it. I'm having a wonderful time. And we are reaching now it looks like the end game. Like this is like gonna be like the last like set of quests that we're gonna get probably, and then once everything is set, once we finish what we want to finish, then we will move on to, yeah, once we do like these. Oh dang. Oh no, wait. Okay, no, usually we've been able to do both. Okay, I was like, oh, I had like flashbacks to Inquisition where you could only pick the mages or the Templars. Hopefully that's not the case in this one. Legacies and Legends. I definitely was reading Legends and Lattes right there, which is a good book. I highly recommend it. Anyway. Yeah, we're in the final stretch, I think. I'm very excited. Thank you all so much for joining me. I appreciate it. Really quick, I want to say thank you to my patrons. I want to say thank you to all my patrons, starting out with my Acorn tier patrons. Thank you so much, Fane, for your support, and thank you so much, Leo, for your support. If I say that wrong, I'm so sorry. I want to give an extra special shout out to my Sapling tier patrons. Thank you so much, Reese Galito, for your support. I very much appreciate it, and I still appreciate the blanket. Thank you. And I really want to say thank you to my other supporter, Sebastian James, my old friend. Thank you so much for your support. I very much appreciate you as well. And I want to give an extra special shout out to my Forest tier patrons who have gone above and beyond in their support of me in the channel and who I truly cannot thank enough. So thank you so much, Christopher, as always, for your support. I treasure it a lot. Thank you so much. And thank you so much, Nightshade, for joining the crew up there in the forest. I appreciate you so much, and I hope you're enjoying the videos. So thank you all again for joining me and for being on Patreon and watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.